Hey everyone, welcome back to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad that you could join us tonight. Tonight, we discuss how a new movie called A Quiet Place is just another example of racist, gun-toting, backcountry farmers trying to get rid of Mexicans. We have poop everywhere. From restroom hand dryers to black market makeup. We also have the left attacking its staples in Jimmy Kimmel and Starbucks. The saying goes, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but apparently women still want to be the first ones to step on Mars because women, right? Schools are arming their teachers in PA, but not with anything useful, mind you. And in our main topic, we discuss California splitting into 3 states with a current resident of California. Not for long, though. We talk about these topics and more. This is the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad that you could join us tonight. You can follow me on social media if you're watching right now, and go to the Facebook page of Generation Y Conservative, hit like and follow along and get notifications. Also, more importantly than that, if you want the HD broadcast of the podcast in audio and visual, you can always go to the YouTube page and subscribe to the Generation Y Conservative, where you'll also find other things such as movie reviews and everything else. And I think after the podcast tonight, he's going to get going, but I'm going to stick around and actually review A Quiet Place, which is actually one of our topics tonight. So that should be interesting as well. Some of the other places you can find me as well is Twitter. Follow along at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end. You can see that on the bottom of your screen right now. Also, if you're interested in listening to the audio only portion of the podcast, you can always find me on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m. on KLRN Internet Radio, where this podcast is rebroadcast. And they have been gracious enough to also put me onto the iTunes store as well under the Generation Y Conservative by KLRN Internet Radio. All right, so we want to get into some of the news for tonight or for this week, but I do have a kind of special announcement. If you're actually following along with the podcast and the page and everything, you may have seen something that I posted within the last week. I was actually asked to be a speaker at the upcoming Second Amendment rally, which is actually taking place all across the country, but specifically in Whitehall, Pennsylvania at Relic Hunter Firearms next month. You can get more information by going on the page. I will be one of the featured speakers there, and we haven't nailed down an actual topic yet, but I'm hoping to be able to speak on the Constitution, which is something that I've been studying up on in regards to the Second Amendment and how that actually folds into all of the amendments and protects them. Hint, hint, that's going to be one of the main topics. So if you're able to make it out to the Second Amendment rally here in Pennsylvania, that would be great. I would love to see you. Come up, say hi, tell me that you follow along with everything. And we're going to have a good time. It's going to be a very interesting time. With me tonight, I have Bobby, who is actually going to be working with us out here on the East Coast, but is currently residing in California and moving his family out here. One of the most popular topics that has been on the YouTube channel lately has been the San Francisco movie or video that I did couple months ago at this point in regards to the mass exodus out of San Francisco because of liberal policies, which is actually not something that I just came up with out of thin air. I always go off of articles that are online, and this happened to be an article from out in California, actually, a CBS article or ABC or something. So we're going to actually have an opportunity to speak to someone from California, and I'm already hearing stories, and that's why I wanted to have him on the podcast to talk about what's been going on in California. So, Bobby, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so let's get into some of the news for the week right now. ABC News and other sources are obviously reporting that on Tuesday, former First Lady Barbara Bush died at the age of 92. So it says a former First Lady of the United States of America and relentless proponent of family literacy, Barbara Pierce Bush, passed away on Tuesday, April 17th at the age of 92, read a statement from the office of the former President George H.W. Bush. Mrs. Bush served as the country's First Lady from 1989 to 93. She passed away shortly after deciding to forego further medical treatments for her failing health. And Mr. Bush is brokenhearted to lose his beloved Barbara, his wife of 73 years. That's insane. That's great.
I don't know how he does it.
So this is according to Gene Becker, chief of staff at the former president's office. He held her hand all day today and was at her side when she left this good earth. Mrs. Bush is the mother of, obviously, George W. Bush, the 43rd president of the United States, and Jeb Bush, the former governor of Florida, who ran for president of the United States in 2016. What was the nickname for Jeb Bush?
Oh, I don't remember it.
By Trump, from Trump?
Is it?
No, he had a good nickname for him. Little Jeb or something? No, it was Little Marco. Yeah, I forget what his nickname for him was. During her tenure as the nation's first lady, Mrs. Bush, the mother of 6 children, was a champion for global literacy and continued the work after she and her husband left the White House. In 1989, she formed the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy, which encourages parents to read to their children. Mrs. Bush believed that tackling literacy would also solve social issues that went unaddressed, such as AIDS, homelessness, and teenage pregnancy. Her crusade against illiteracy and learning disabilities stemmed from her tireless efforts with her son Neil's dyslexia. So, do you remember Barbara Bush being in office at all?
Vaguely, yes, I remember being in office. And I can remember it not being good to read your kids either. We have to have our teachers do that, and Common Core do that for us now.
Yeah, it's up to the state, obviously.
That's terrible.
May have been the start right there. Who knows? What I remember of her is her and Laura Bush were both pretty classy and didn't really attack the opposing side like you see lately. Actually, I would have to say Melania is a very classy first lady too, because she stays out of everything, right? I mean, yeah, Trump is the pit bull in the office right now that attacks everyone, even his own side, for crying out loud. But I don't know. I gotta say, like the last administration before this, Obama, Michelle and Barack just attacked people left and right, accused people, shifted the blame all the time to police officers and the Republicans, and it was this all around mess. Everybody else was to blame except for them. But it seemed like Barbara and Laura just held their position as first lady to a higher degree. Didn't get involved so much except for their side ventures, like Michelle did too with her school lunch program, which turned out to be a disaster anyway.
Yeah, kids come home hungry every day.
Yeah, especially athletes in schools. Yeah. But I just think, I think we may have seen an end to that era of the way that a first family behaves, It's unfortunate. I think that a lot of people... Actually, you know what? I have a personal story about the Bushes. When Dana Perino, I met Dana Perino at CPAC 2 years ago, I believe it was. I was talking to her, and then she got caught up with media right next to me, and they were interviewing her. And I got an opportunity to talk to Perino's husband, right? And he was talking about how when she left office and Bush left office, how President Bush invited him personally, without her, into his office to have a one-on-one talk with him and ask how things were going and if there was anything that they could do. The Bushes were well known for how they interacted with people at church in Washington, D.C. and everything. And, despite him coming off kind of dopey, obviously W. Bush, not H.W. Bush, the family seemed to have a lot of respect as far as how they treated people.
They had a lot of deep American values in their life, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of the old 40s, 50s, 60s type values.
Oh, racism right there. Right?
Yeah.
Can't go back to that, I don't think, right?
No, that's a bad topic.
So I think she will actually be pretty well missed, obviously. Going over to the Daily Wire, reported that the hit blockbuster A Quiet Place is being slammed for its regressive stance on guns. So you and I went to see this, 2 nights ago?
Yeah.
Along with another friend, Brant, who's been on the podcast, so I might as well just say that. I found this amazing to read after we actually saw it. I don't want to give too much away about the movie because I think it's part of the allure is that's kind of shrouded in a little bit of mystery, and it's just it's a heck of a movie, that's for sure. So The New Yorker said, we're going to talk about the New Yorker later too with Starbucks or with Chick-Fil-A. The New Yorker called A Quiet Place's politics regressive, calling the picture of a right-wing fantasy of survivalism where both the father and mother wield firearms in order to protect their growing family. The family, the magazine moans, lacks an authentic inner expression, but manages to bring to the fore the idealistic elements of gun culture. So what they're essentially saying is here that this is a Republican fantasy because it's a bunch of farmers living off the land in a survival situation because all those, all of us have our food supplies in the basements and everything and live off of the grid, and then they have, we're going to get to the racism portion of this, but that they have idealistic elements of gun culture. First of all, without even going into the scenes in the movie, how many guns were in the movie?
One.
It was actually two, but it was two very brief scenes, right? The father had a gun and a gun. Well, okay. The father and the mother had gun scenes, but they were very brief. Yeah, because they didn't do anything. They couldn't do anything with them. Yeah.
Don't say too much.
Yeah. We've said we got to check around here for the people coming in to swamp us.
We don't want to see any of those things.
So it says it's also a white supremacist movie, the New Yorker critic argues. If you consider the family who lives in silence so as not to alert angry shelled aliens to their presence, it's representative of a silent white majority that doesn't dare to speak freely or fear of being heard by the supersensitive ears of the dark others. So I don't know.
That's deep.
I don't know if you know this, but you're Mexican. So
I'm an American Mexican, yes.
What do you call it?
Amorexican.
So did you feel like this was
I didn't feel
an
like
attack?
it was an attack on race at all. No.
Did you feel like it was?
Felt like it was a good, authentic movie, really. Just
Yeah, and
what would happen if
unique.
something like that happened. Very unique, yeah.
Yeah.
Because how would you go about it? I mean, you just can't point your kids off on the government to save you. You can't, because they're not going to help you at all.
Really?
No, I mean,
Are you sure you're from California? Doesn't California, don't they help out everyone to survive?
I think what they do is just let the homeless people throw poop at each other.
The movie's true awfulness shines through in scenes where the family must defend themselves in one-on-one combat with the mysterious extraterrestrials. Far from being a progressive force out to illuminate the human race, the aliens are mostly there to devour anyone who makes the slightest noise. While blind, the aliens have extra-sensitive hearing, which also allows them to track their human prey. It says The Economist's 1843 magazine bemoaned this week that Hollywood's destructive reliance on gun culture, and particularly A Quiet Place's glorification of shooting aliens in the face. The couple's other self-preservation tactics are all well and good, but in the end, it's the ability to squeeze a trigger that makes the difference between being a responsible parent and an alien's breakfast, the writer sobs. Yeah, that's kind of the point with any intruder into your house, is it's about squeezing that trigger.
I would think so.
And I don't think that's a bad thing to point out.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
You actually, by the way, just so you know, when you come out to the East Coast here, you're allowed to have guns.
Yes.
The Economist packs its review, though, with insulting narratives about gun culture. It says gun-toting farmers fare better against the aliens than the entire American war machine. And middle America, defenders of the right to bear arms, will also see flattering reflections of themselves in the film's heroes, a photogenic white family that lives on a backwoods farm. So basically what they're pointing out here is that the army couldn't save everyone, right? And they couldn't figure out how to destroy these creatures, but the survival comes down to backwoods hillbilly folk to save it.
Type, right?
Yeah, exactly. It says the movie celebrates gun ownership, The Economist says, and Hollywood needs to do better. Actually, I would actually look at you, Hollywood, right now and say this is exactly the type of movie that should be done, because it was unique. And I'm going to get to that in the review and everything, but it was phenomenal. And I would tell you right now, go and see it. It was
twice if you can.
Yeah. I wish we talked. Is your wife into horror movies or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So mine isn't. I don't have anyone in my family that's into horror movies because I can't bring my 3 girls. And it was told her about some of the scenes because I just was like, oh, I wish you need to see this movie, but I know you won't, so I have to tell you what happened, you know? It was just amazing. So we'll actually get to that in the movie review then as well. According to NBC Los Angeles, a fashion district bus nets $700,000 in feces-laced cosmetics. You got to be careful when you're shopping for those crappy brands. You know what I mean? So authorities seized
honey, if I bought you anything.
Yeah. I had some bad jokes there. I'm not even going to go with it. Authorities seized $700,000 worth of counterfeit cosmetics that tested positive for bacteria and human feces during a raid Thursday in the fashion district of Los Angeles. Bacteria and human feces in Los Angeles? Is that uncommon? Is that common?
Yeah, just about every block.
6 people were arrested on charges of trademark violations and 15 businesses were issued cease and desist orders. The counterfeit cosmetics included imitations of popular brands like Kylie, Anastasia, MAC, Urban Decay, Naked, and Too Faced. At least it's not crap-faced.
Crap-faced, yeah.
The cosmetics seized tested positive for high levels of bacteria in human waste. In a tweet after the raid, the LAPD captain Mark Rihanna warned customers looking for a bargain that the best price is not always the best deal. Or in other words, sometimes great deals attract customers like flies to... Well, you can guess on that one. Anything on that? Are you familiar with like a black market out there for all this stuff?
Not familiar with black market makeup with human feces in it. Definitely.
They don't put that on the label?
Feces in California. I do know about that.
Well, we'll get to that when we talk about California at the end then. It says in related news, the American Society for Microbiology published a study that basically says bathroom hand dryers blow poop particles all over you.
And I eat right after I wash my hands at sheets.
Yeah.
Paper towels. Cut down some more trees.
Don't take a sheet while you're there. Says a study published by the American Society for Microbiology did microbial surveys of bathrooms at the University of Connecticut to find out whether hot air hand dryers draw in microbes that then blow them back out. Says the full cycle goes like this. When you flush a toilet that doesn't have a lid, the turbulence of the flush sends fecal particles into the air, where they hover in a miasmic cloud. When the dryers switch on, they pull these particles in through their intake, heat them up, oh boy, and spray them onto your moist hands and other moist, hospitable surfaces where their bacteria can thrive. Ian Eames, who was your parents? Who were your parents on this? Ian Eames. Sorry. Professor of Fluid Mechanics at the University College of London told CleanLink fecal matter and droplets of urine can be found in washroom air. These small particles can stay in the air and can be transported around the washroom area. Most hand dryers draw in contaminated air and direct it straight onto your hands. If a hand dryer with a HEPA filter is used, cleaner air is directed onto hands and expelled into the room. Both these effects are beneficial to washroom users, especially in hospital environments. Have you seen these new hand dryers that you, instead of like putting them under, you dip the hand?
Yeah.
I thought it was a fancy new urinal that also blew you dry. Surprised the heck out of me the first time.
I don't think you should be doing that anymore though, with the fecal matter and all.
Yeah, seriously. It's like literally pissing in the wind. As reported on Louder with Crowder's website, Jimmy Kimmel offended the LGBT community with a homophobic Sean Hannity insult. Now, I find this really interesting because do you follow like all the stuff that Jimmy Kimmel puts himself into politically at all?
No, I try to stay away from that.
He used to be funny. He used to have a lot of fun. He used to do the Man Show, which I think he lost his man card after that. Adam Carolla. It's funny how him and Adam Carolla just completely split, and Carolla's like a libertarian superstar, and Kimmel cries over a lion.
Yeah.
Cecil, you know what I mean? And he just injects himself into, you know, healthcare issues, political issues, going after Sean Hannity and everything. And it makes him look like a whiny little brat all the time.
He is a whiny little brat. That's why I don't watch the guy.
I mean, isn't the late shows like this supposed to be all about comedy and everything?
I would think they're supposed to be about comedy, but when they start targeting...
He gets a response.
He gets a response. He targets all these conservatives, and he gets a great response from all his liberal friends, and it's garbage when you actually look at it with the common sense side of things.
Yeah.
And you look at it that way with somebody who has no common sense.
Yeah. Well, he's also playing to an audience, right? I mean, no one in the audience ever pushes back against him because they're all there to see him because they agree with him, right? Yeah. So it's kind of a coward act, really, to go out in front of a crowd and be political or say these types of things and feel like you're being praised up and down for it when you're really playing to people with the same opinion, you know? He gets a little bit of backlash on Twitter and everything, but in the end, I mean... He's against gun culture, but he has security guards.
Yeah, who are all armed.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Jimmy Kimmel and Sean Hannity are in the midst of a schoolgirl feud, Louder with Crowder's site said. It started over Kimmel mocking Melania Trump's accent and Hannity attempting to defend her honor. So two things here, okay? Kimmel going after Melania. We were just talking about her, right? She stays out of the spotlight, and for good reason. I think she probably is embarrassed at her husband's antics sometimes, right? I think she doesn't want to screw up or come off as biased in any way. I honestly don't even know her political leanings, and I think that's a good thing.
I don't think a lot of us know her political leanings.
No. And why is she? It's because she's an easy target because she's an immigrant. That's basically what he's doing, right? He's making fun of an immigrant, which is exactly what he says he's against. Yeah. But in regards to Hannity, okay, the one thing I keep on coming back to is I like Hannity. Hannity is actually one of the nicest radio hosts I've ever run into.
Yeah, he plays catch with his workers.
Actually, to be honest with you, at CPAC, he did that with the crowd, and when the cameras were off, he came out into the crowd and was trying to like play matchmaker with conservative people and everything. And he's just one of the most down-to-earth, nicest guys to talk to in person. Him and Glenn Beck were like that. And there was one of my personal radio heroes that I was just really disappointed in that came off as a jerk, you know? So it's unfortunate. But what I have to say about Hannity is the fact that, you know, as much as I like him personally and everything, one of the biggest complaints that especially him had during Obama's presidency was how the media was in the bag for the president at the time, right?
He couldn't do no wrong.
Can Trump do any wrong with Hannity? You know?
Yeah, I see that Hannity can criticize.
Okay, I haven't too much, but okay. I mean, if you've seen it, I personally haven't seen it, but
no, I think the one thing that Fox News does great is they are fair and balanced. I see that they're fair and balanced. If they don't like something that Trump's done, he's not afraid to say it.
Well, look at one of the biggest issues right now is the fact that we have CNN. You compare CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and ABC, right? All the news stories that they're running right now compared to Fox. Yeah, Fox may lean Republican. I wouldn't ever say conservative because I don't really feel that they're conservative at all, especially with the new leadership. Yeah. But you see all these international news stories. What's going on with like potential wars starting up, and these international things, like big things that are happening, and you switch over to CNN and it's all Stormy Daniels, like hour after hour after hour of Stormy Daniels. Like who the hell cares at this point, you know? And we can't fall into the trap, either side really, of being hypocrites, right? Because if I can't say that I don't have a problem with Stormy Daniels. I do, right? First of all, it didn't happen while he was in office, but that's not giving an excuse. But the fact of the matter is, it's a moral principle type thing that if he actually did do that and cheated on Melania, that's wrong of him, right? And that's disgusting. But that's consistent with my belief on what Clinton did, with what JFK did, right? You can't be a liberal right now focusing 24 hours a day on Stormy Daniels on CNN, pissed off at something that he did before he even got into office, and then completely say what Clinton did was in his free time, it's his sexual life, leave it alone. You know, it's none of your business. Yeah. You can't have it both ways. You have to be consistent. And that's one thing that we don't see in our culture today is consistency and especially personal responsibility, which I think is a big thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's absolutely no consistency with CNN or any of those type of news agencies.
Watch it. That's your dad's favorite station.
Oh, it is. He watches it 24 hours a day. If there was 27 hours a day, he would watch it every hour of that.
Oh, boy. Okay, so anyway, we haven't even gotten to this yet. So Kimmel tweeted, "Don't worry, just keep tweeting. You'll get back on top." And then in parentheses, "Or does Trump prefer you on the bottom? Either way, keep your chin up, big fella, XO." Well,
he's just really shot himself in the foot.
Yeah, no kidding.
With the gun he doesn't like to have.
Yeah. He says the LGBT community did not take kindly to their sexual preferences being used as an insult against Trump and Hannity. One person tweeted, Scott Lennon said, "I'm physically ill over you making a gay punchline in 2018. With all the hatred out there, this is how you get laughs and retweets at Jimmy Kimmel." Also, Khaleesi tweets, said, "I also loathe these guys. But being gay is not a punchline. It's very hurtful for you to describe people you don't like as being gay." I think they make good points. You know what I mean? He basically tried to insult them with something, with a lifestyle that he supports, apparently. Well, does he agree with it?
Need it too.
Does he agree with it? Because if he's using it as a punchline and using it in a demeaning way, does he really? I think there's some undertones there, possibly, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, you can't have your cake and eat it, too. You know, he's trying to have both.
Rainbow cake?
Ways. Yeah, rainbow cake. From Castro District.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Castro District is in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's right there. It's bakery there.
I think as soon as you cross that bridge, it's just kind of all over anyway, isn't it? Actually, it's kind of all over when you pass the San Andreas fault line.
yeah, it can tend to be that way.
Yeah, there's parts of San Francisco that are good?
There's parts where it's not too awfully bad, but it's where all the tourists go. Once you get to the hotel rooms, I don't know.
What, blacklight territory?
Yeah. No, I think it's more like the rainbow light territory.
Oh, really? Oh, boy. Okay. So in that case, what I find interesting is the fact that he said something. Well, we have already established that he did something and made fun of a culture that he supposedly supports, right? And then the left itself came out and attacked their own comedian who they prop up on a pedestal all the time for him speaking out against guns and against the Republicans and everything else in healthcare, you know? So the left is eating its own. Now, I got into a little back and forth. I know you're not on Facebook right now or anything, but I got into a back and forth with a friend of mine who's black, who's been on the podcast and is conservative and feels completely differently than I do about the next story here, okay? But some more details have also come out since the last time I talked to him, and I completely still disagree with him as well. So I wanted to get your opinion on this too. It says in another story from the left eating its own, the Daily Wire is reporting that the hashtag boycott Starbucks situation is going from bad to worse. Despite attempts by CEO Kevin Johnson to personally put out the PR fire, hashtag boycott Starbucks appears to be just gaining momentum. The ugly situation started with a viral video featuring two black male customers getting arrested in the middle of a store in Philly last Thursday. The reason they were taken into police custody is because they used the restroom without buying anything, then sat down. When told they couldn't use the restroom without purchasing something, the two men said they were meeting a friend who showed up around the same time they were getting handcuffed less than 15 minutes later. So here is the viral footage of the incident taken by another patron of the establishment, and it's the actual news story from that time, too. So let's take a look at that.
Then a few minutes ago, we had about a dozen protesters outside of the Starbucks here. But because of the driving rain, they're now inside, conducting essentially a stand-in. The video has now been viewed more than 9 million times. Two black men sitting at a table inside the Starbucks and arrested.
What did they do?
Outrage is brewing this morning over this viral video showing two black men escorted out of a Philadelphia Starbucks in handcuffs by police.
Well, what did they do? What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
Police say the men were sitting at a table without making a purchase, and when asked to leave, they refused. That's when an employee called 911, reporting the incident as trespassing. Witnesses, including this businessman who the real estate brokers were about to meet with, say the men were discriminated against for being black.
What did they get called for? Because there are two black guys sitting here meeting me?
I sat in there the other day for an hour and no one asked me to order anything or leave. These guys were being totally calm. They never raised their voices. They never made any, physical motions or anything. They were just regular guys sitting there.
But Philadelphia's police commissioner says his officers did everything by the book.
These officers did absolutely nothing wrong. They followed policy. They did what they were supposed to do.
Anger is boiling over on social media with the hashtag boycott Starbucks. Comedian Kevin Hart is blaming the local branch, saying this is not a boycott Starbucks situation. This is horrible management. The manager on duty was wrong. It's that simple. Starbucks is now apologizing, saying the video is not representative of our Starbucks mission and values. The basis for the call to police was wrong. You can and should expect more from us.
So there's a story. Thoughts on that before I get into it a little bit deeper?
Well, at least they use the restroom.
Wow, you really have issues out there in California, don't you?
Man, I'm telling you.
So
the bathroom. That's
while everyone was watching the video there, I actually got some comments there that I got the actual nickname for Jeb. It was Low Energy Jeb. Remember? You remember in the primaries, Trump kept on referring to him as Low Energy Jeb. I have Hawaiian Trump here. You're Low Energy Jeb, okay? You're so low energy.
you can't be happening anymore.
So, thank you, Mike, who's keeping an eye on the podcast anyway, even though he couldn't be here tonight. He's sick, so we're hoping he gets better. In the meantime, though, so let's go back here. It says, now the store is being picketed. Hashtag boycott Starbucks is trending, and the employees are being accused of racial profiling despite the company's CEO scrambling to make amends and the manager who put in the regrettable call parting ways with the company. Okay, so she's left. Her life is ruined, by the way. You know what I mean? For making a phone call.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a racist, though, right?
Yeah.
She has to be a racist. I mean, can you imagine what that phone call probably was like to the police? There's two black men in here sitting here loitering and not doing anything or buying anything, and they're using the restroom. I mean, it would have to be a phone call that's racist like that, right?
I would think so.
Hi, how may I help you? Hi, I have two gentlemen at my cafe that are refusing to make a purchase or leave. I'm at the Starbucks at 18th and Spruce. All right, please, I'll be on as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye.
There is a disturbance at the Starbucks group of males inside called the disturbance. We got 9-3, 9-2, 9-23, and 2-4 location. They're requesting another unit along with a supervisor.
Did she say black men, right?
No, I think she said gentlemen.
Gentlemen? Is that like a dog whistle? It's got to be a dog whistle for things nowadays, no?
Is it a duck call?
A duck call. Well, that's the new dog whistle. That's the Duck Dynasty dog whistle, right? So I find that pretty interesting. That just came out. More and more details are coming out. They were actually asked to buy something or leave. They refused. She said, I'm going to call the cops. They basically taunted her to, right? And it has spiraled out of control to this right now, right?
Well, I call quack on the news media.
Well, of course they're going to blow this situation up into something that it's not. It says late Saturday, Johnson issued a formal apology. This is the CEO of Starbucks. The video shot by customers is very hard to watch, and the actions in it are not representative of our Starbucks mission and values, said the CEO. The basis for the call to the Philadelphia Police Department was wrong. He said that the company is going to thoroughly investigate the situation to make sure nothing else like it would happen again, and remained more committed than ever to combating racial profiling. again, I don't hear racial profiling. As a matter of fact, if we go back and actually watch that video, the guy in it who came to meet up with them said, what is going on? Why are you doing this? Is it because they're black? Like, he's the one that turned it into a racial situation, which is so typical of, honestly, people on the left. You know what I mean? Like, they want to turn anything into a racial situation.
Right. But they're doing it with Starbucks. Isn't Starbucks left?
Are they? I was gonna say they might as well put like a magic liberal potion into their coffees.
You liberals are really getting it backwards lately. I mean,
attacking their own. Yeah,
as I see it, guys.
It says the apology didn't go over well. Fortune reports on the situation on the ground in Philly. Some Philadelphians thought Johnson's apology was too little, too latte, as they put it, which is actually pretty good, as written on one protest sign, and met with outside the Starbucks where the arrest took place. Soon people around the country and around the world were joining the call to hashtag boycott Starbucks and for the firing of the manager who called the police. So she gave fair warning. She asked them to participate in buying something, you know? Yeah. And I know that Starbucks pushes in their values, I guess you could say, as a kind of home away from home for a meeting place and everything. But can you imagine, as a business owner, okay? I would want people hanging out at my business, okay? But if you're taking up table space for paying customers and you're just hanging out all day and not doing anything, I see a problem with that personally. I don't care what color you are either. You're taking up space for people that are actual paying customers that may want to sit down and are contributing back to the business, you know? It says, as the situation continued to spiral out of control, Johnson realized that he would have to ramp up the PR effort, appearing on Good Morning America on Monday morning to denounce the actions of his employees in even stronger terms. He said, I'll say the circumstances surrounding the incident and the outcome at our store on Thursday were reprehensible. So clearly, there's an opportunity for us to provide clarity. And in addition to that, I'd say there's training, more training that we're going to do with our store managers, not only around the guidelines, but training around unconscious bias. You can apparently train people on their unconscious beliefs that may or may not even be there. Johnson also reached out to the two men to meet in person, which they have reportedly agreed to do, but even that's not stopping the boycott momentum online. So they did agree to meet. Starbucks will be closing down 8,000 store locations to do a national training day, basically.
National
training.
Brainwash?
Yeah. Just take a sip.
You can do it. Just one sip, that's all it takes.
Yeah, grande brainwash. Yeah, right away.
I'm gonna get that double shot, please.
Here's the other thing too. This has happened in Philadelphia, right? So how is it that we're suddenly hearing about a racist Philadelphia Starbucks, right? In the midst of one of the biggest liberal cities, right? Where there's a high black population down there, it's a given, right? And suddenly it's popping up that this is a racist Starbucks, a liberal store with liberal values. It turns out that this manager is a social justice warrior, right? She calls the two guys gentlemen on the phone and has a very calm conversation. She wasn't panicked or anything, which shows that it wasn't an emergency situation. She just wanted to follow the policy, which it's in the policy guidelines for the managers to ask them to purchase something or leave. Actually, as a matter of fact, it's actually shown that she went up to them and didn't just say, hey, you need to buy something or get out of here. She went up to them and offered them drinks. Can I get you something to drink? So
she actually went out of her way. Also,
she went out of her way to see if she could take an order for them.
See what happens here is the liberal policies of Starbucks want you to be a little more racist. Because if we look deeper into the background of Democrats, liberal or whatnot, I mean, we got to remember they are some of the largest slave owners in history.
True. Yeah.
So maybe they need to be a little bit more racist in there. Then it'd be better. Then there won't be so much problems.
Well, one thing that my friend was kind of coming at me with in regards to an argument is that my argument to this whole thing on the surface level before I found out about the phone call and everything else was the CEO apologized, right? He came out, he apologized for the actions of one of his stores. He can't be everywhere to babysit every single one of these branches and franchises, right? And he's trying to make amends. He repented, basically. He asked for forgiveness. And we live in a culture right now that just doesn't allow forgiveness. It's, no, I don't care what you have to say. I don't care if you actually mean the apology. What I'm going to do is shame you into losing money, right? We've gotten to this victim mentality culture where, like I said, these guys, I really didn't see anything in regards to racism right off the bat at all anyway. It was their person that they were meeting who mentioned anything about skin color. Well, why are you doing this? Is it because they're black? Yeah. That's the only racist thing about this whole story.
He was probably a lawyer meeting them for...
It was a business discussion, so it may have been. But we're not allowing people to apologize anymore and accept it, right? Yeah. There's no grace being shown.
There's got to be a monetary value behind the apology.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You have to pay up. Yeah. You have
to work anymore. Everybody wants this.
Yeah. You know? I mean, and they're not getting anything out of this, but attention on social media. They want this hashtag to really take off and everything. Now, my point is, he apologized. Accept the apology. The situation has been taken care of. He's going to lose literally millions of dollars in one day of shutting down these stores, okay? And the message is being sent, okay? That Starbucks acknowledged the problem, apologized for the problem, and are trying to make amends for it, okay? They can't be accepting of this apology. They can't show grace towards their own side's company, right? I mean, this is the bastion of liberalism in Starbucks. You're not allowed to carry a gun into Starbucks, even if you have a license for it. And they throw conservatives out for wearing. I think there were stories of people wearing Trump hats that were asked to leave because they were being aggressive, basically.
No, that's not being racist, though, in any way.
No, yeah. But so my point in the whole thing was, you can't blame this whole organization. If you want to blame anyone, if you want to protest anyone, you should be protesting the actual store where this happened in Philadelphia, right?
Not all 8,000 stores.
Yeah, and if it had actually turned out to be that she was actually racist, which I'm not showing here.
Yeah, I don't see any bit of racism. You want to see racism, you can find it very easily. Just and you're not going to have to go to Starbucks to hear it, because it's not going to be there, I don't believe.
Well, in this case here, this woman who's a manager, who is apparently a hardcore leftist, and by the looks of it would never be racist, right? Because she was self-labeled herself as a social justice warrior, right? Her life is ruined. Her name is forever going to be tied to this situation as being a racist person because of what happened to these two gentlemen that got thrown out. So really the message that we're sending here is that it doesn't matter what happens in a situation. If you're black, it's automatically assumed that even if you're guilty, it's based in racism. Well, this is ridiculous. So his point to me was that Starbucks should be held responsible as a whole for this situation because it goes up the ladder, right? I semi-agree. The CEO took responsibility. He apologized for it. Accept the apology, show grace, right?
Take a pay cut.
It's ridiculous that it's getting blown out of proportion, I think, for all this stuff. Any other thoughts on that at all that I'm missing? Am I missing something here?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. It's getting out of hand. Liberals are starting to cut their own throats.
Yeah.
They're literally going after their own now. Not only can they not stop going after conservatives or Republicans, but now they got to go after their own.
Well,
they're not going to stop until they shoot themselves in the foot. So they're just doing it every day.
I want to read this out to you here. I'm just looking for exactly what he said to me about people being responsible for their own race and everything. This is bigger than Starbucks. This is behavior against black people beyond one company. Someone slaps you over and over and says sorry but keeps slapping you. Their apology means nothing, especially when they start telling you to get over the slaps because they were in the past. This has nothing to do with they're making this into a racist issue. There was no evidence of racism
at all.
No. At one point, he basically said blacks should be responsible for blacks, whites for whites, and companies for other companies, or their own stores and everything. But if that's true, and we follow along with that mentality, 2 summers ago, okay, Black Lives Matter, there were sections of Black Lives Matter that were literally calling for the assassination of cops. And they did kill cops, especially in Dallas. There were 5 that were shot and killed. Yeah. So if I'm supposed to follow this mentality, then you're telling me that all people that support Black Lives Matter are terrorists, domestic terrorists, because they're all responsible for those actions of those individuals.
Yeah, you have a very good point there.
Absolutely, I do. Okay, and then all the Antifa people that are bashing people in the face and looting businesses and everything. Well, if you support Antifa, you're a domestic terrorist too. Yeah. Right? That's how we follow this mentality out. But of course, if it comes to Black Lives Matter, there's going to be excuses made. Well, this is circumstantial, and Black Lives Matter, they didn't take responsibility. They said that they were distancing themselves from those people that were saying that. They said that those were rogue people within the movement that were calling for the assassination of cops. Well, the CEO literally took responsibility for this in this case, said he was sorry, and parted ways with this manager too, which again, when you look back on the evidence of everything, didn't show any racism at all. Yeah. And it seems to be the only thing racist in this video or in this whole circumstance is one guy involved with the 2 individuals that got arrested, okay, or let out in handcuffs. Had they got up voluntarily, they probably wouldn't have even been put in handcuffs. This one guy that turned it into a racial situation by saying, is it because they're black? That's it. That's what we're dealing with right now. So I think personally that this is ridiculous, you know. Okay, so speaking of franchises making the news, wait until you hear what the New Yorker had to say about Chick-Fil-A opening up stores in New York City. Their headline reads, Chick-Fil-A's creepy infiltration of New York City. Do you have Chick-Fil-A's in California?
Not in Central Valley that I can recall, and I can see why.
It's probably hard to get across that border. New York has taken to, this is from the article itself, New York has taken to Chick-fil-A. One of the Manhattan locations estimates that it sells a sandwich every 6 seconds, and the company has announced plans to open as many as a dozen more storefronts in the city. And yet the brand's arrival here feels like an infiltration, in no small part because of its pervasive Christian traditionalism. Its headquarters in Atlanta are adorned with Bible verses and the statue of Jesus washing a disciple's feet. Its stores close on Sundays. Its CEO, Dan Cathy, has been accused of bigotry for using the company's charitable wing to fund anti-gay causes. No, that's not true. First of all, it's not true. They fund pro-family causes, and it's, again, misconstrued into playing around with the words as anti-gay.
It sounds a lot like Hobby Lobby, in 2012 or something?
Well, first of all, Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A are always under attack.
Yeah.
Always under attack.
We have a lot of Hobby Lobbies out in California. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the one in my city is actually shutting down because they're tired of the bureaucrats.
Yep. No, I'm not surprised. Including groups that oppose same-sex gay marriage. And we're inviting God's judgment on our nation, he once said. When we shake our fist at him and say, we know better than you as to what constitutes a marriage. The company has since reaffirmed its intention to treat every person with honor, dignity, and respect. But it has quietly continued to donate to anti-LGBT groups. This is taking things so out of context. It's unbelievable to me. Okay, so first of all, it says its intention to treat every person with honor, dignity, and respect. Yes, and that has never changed. They have, if you can, I challenge you. I challenge people out there. If you can find me a story where a person of the LGBT community went into a Chick-fil-A and ordered food and was turned away because of it, because of their lifestyle, right? Find it for me, and I will eat my shoe. I will eat my shoe, okay? They have always shown honor, dignity, and respect to everybody, okay? It says, but it has quietly continued to donate to anti-LGBT groups. Wrong again. They are pro-family groups, which are seen by the LGBT community as anti-LGBT because it promotes traditional family values, which they see as being offensive to them. Okay, so it's a twisting of the words. It's taking the exact same circumstance and twisting it to fit an agenda. And in case you can't see here, this program, this podcast, the truth is more important than agenda. So it says, when a location opened in Queens Mall in 2016, Mayor Bill de Blasio proposed a boycott. That's all these liberals do. They always boycott everything, you know?
I want to block up the highways and boycott and protest and get violent.
I call those speed bumps. So no such controversy greeted the opening of this newest outpost. Chick-fil-A's success here is a marketing coup. Its expansion raises questions about what we expect from our fast food and to what extent a corporation can join a community. Outside, you can glimpse an earlier iteration of that skyline on the building's facade, which, with two tall, imperious rectangles jutting out, gives a subtle impression of the Twin Towers. This emphasis on community, especially in the misguided nod to 9/11, suggests an ulterior motive. Oh, these horrible people are celebrating the Twin Towers that used to be there. What jerks. The restaurant's corporate purpose, it still begins with the words, to glorify God. I feel I can sense liberal nerves popping, brain aneurysms going, you know? And that proselytism trums below the surface of the Fulton Street restaurant, which has the ersatz homespun ambience of a mega church. David Farmer, Chick-fil-A's vice president of restaurant experience, told BuzzFeed that he strives for a, quote, pit crew efficiency, but where you feel like you just got hugged in the process. That contradiction, industrial but claustral, is at the heart of the new restaurant and of Chick-fil-A's entire brand. So have you ever been to a Chick-fil-A?
Not yet, no.
Oh, man.
I have not.
I introduced Bobby to a Lehigh Valley favorite in Yakko's, which my wife hates, so it was nice just to be able to take someone there, which is hot dogs, right? Maybe before you leave, you need to go back to move your family back out here, which don't let people know in California when you're doing that, going back or coming out, because you're part of that exodus that they say isn't happening, by the way. Right. You need to try Chick-fil-A. We have a couple here, so it's like the best chicken.
I haven't
it's fantastic chicken. Okay. So my point being, it's talking about like a pit crew efficiency with the embrace of a hug feeling, right? If you get the opportunity to go to a Chick-fil-A, you get the Christian feeling, which is the exact opposite of what they say this is. You feel welcomed, you feel appreciated, and you feel like you're being taken care of, no matter what, right? And it's a warm experience.
The way that they should, because one, if it wasn't for them being to hand out that service to people, then how are they going to make their money? They have to be nice.
Yeah.
You can't just go out and hate everybody all the time. You're never going to make it anywhere.
Yeah.
You won't become a national known restaurant.
Or you end up dividing your
Starbucks,
clients and everything.
Be known because you hate everybody.
Racist Starbucks. It's worth asking why Americans fell in love with an ad in which one farm animal begs us to kill another in its place. Most restaurants take pains to distance themselves from the brutalities of the slaughterhouse. Chick-fil-A invites us to go along with the cow's schadenfreude. In the portraits of the Fulton Street restaurant, the cows visit various New York landmarks. They're in Central Park, where Eat More Chicken has been mowed into the lawn. They're glimpsing the Manhattan Bridge from Dumbo, where they've modified a stop sign, Stop Eatin' Burgers. And they're on a subway where the advertisements, you get the picture. The joke is that the cows are out of place in New York. A winking acknowledgement that Chick-fil-A, too, does not quite belong here. No. No, it's part of their marketing. You're reading too much into it, or even worse and more likely is you are fabricating a story to go against the restaurant just because you are anti-Christian, right? Defenders of Chick-fil-A point out that the company donates thousands of pounds of food to New York Common Pantry and that its expansion creates jobs. Yes. The more
That's against the left agenda.
Yeah.
No jobs.
The more fatalistic will add that hypocrisy is baked or fried into every consumer experience. That unbridled corporate power makes it impossible to bring your wallet in line with your morals. Still, there's something especially distasteful about Chick-Fil-A, which has sought to portray itself as better than other fast food. Yes, it is. Cleaner, gentler, and more ethical, with its poultry slightly healthier than the mystery meat of burgers. Its politics, its decor, and its commercial evangelical messaging are infected with this suburban piety. A representative of the Richards Group once told Adweek, people root for the low-status character and the cows are low status. They're the underdog. That may have been true in 1995 when Chick-fil-A was a lowly mall brand struggling to find its footing against the burger juggernauts. Today, the cow's guerrilla insurgency is more of a carpet bombing.
Well, at least they clawed themselves up to the top the way that
they're number 3.
true capitalists would do it.
They're number 3 in fast food restaurants now.
And
Okay.
Myself, McDonald's, that.
Yeah. Oh, you need to have Chick-fil-A before you head down to Maryland, right?
I think they have them down in Maryland. I've seen them. Down
Oh, yeah, they do.
But
Yep.
I haven't seen them in California.
Yeah. By the way, this isn't the first article I've ever read like this. Anytime a Chick-fil-A is opening up in a highly liberal area, you are going to find articles like this written about the franchise and the Christian value base behind it and where it comes from, the CEO of the company or the president of the company, and the background of the family and who they donate to. This is clearly... Actually, the last time I did a story on this, it was from a food reviewer on do you know one of the big food review sites?
No, I just know Man vs. Food.
No, this one is an actual website where they review restaurants and everything. And
Mystery Shopper or something?
yeah, kinda. And instead of reviewing the actual taste of the food and quality of it, they went on a whole rant about the Christian values and everything else. There's quite clearly an agenda here to attack Christian values, which I find really frustrating because they attack Republicans and Christians all the time for saying anything true about radical Islam, right? And you can't say that. You can't say that. And we have them specifically talking about the LGBT community, but you don't ever hear them saying anything about in the Middle East where they're throwing gay people off of the side of buildings.
Yeah.
Right, to their death, or stoning them to death. You can't say anything about those people, but Christians are, as I've said before, an easy target because we don't fight back, because we have morals and values against getting too heatedly involved, right? So they take advantage of us.
It's easier to turn the other cheek than to argue with them.
No, I would actually say it's the opposite. It's a lot easier to argue with them than to turn the cheek, because when you're attacked, I think it's hard to turn that cheek and say, okay, I got to let this go. Right? But I think that there's a responsibility on the part of the Christian community to come to the defense of these types of things, because we just keep on getting thrown under the bus and we keep on taking it, and there's a deterioration of of God in communities, right?
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Oh yeah.
Can't even talk about him in school anymore.
Well, he was taken out of school a couple decades ago, and what's been going on with schools, right?
Yeah, they're deteriorating bad.
Absolutely deteriorating.
I can't teach my kids how to be math. It's pretty bad.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we keep on looking at these school shootings and everything. Everybody keeps on trying to come up with reasons, and the left keeps on saying that it's all about the guns. The guns are doing it. Like they're magically walking in there and our tools, in the meantime, while guns are banned in England, the knife rates for killings skyrocket past New York City's homicide rate,
And
right?
running over people with cars too, that skyrockets too.
But when you take God out of schools, that's when we started seeing a lot of problems start to unfold in the schools and everything, and education rates go down. But not only that, like I've said before, I know this is a controversial thing to say, but in regards to school shootings and everything, you never see a school shooting at a Christian school.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because morals and values and an emphasis on the value of life are instilled into those kids in those schools.
Yeah, and bullying is not encouraged like it is in regular public schools, and it is encouraged. I highly believe that. I actually talked to a superintendent about the bullying problem at my child's school, and he said he was going to do something about it and call me back. It's been 2 weeks, still haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. You can't stop a bully. You have a zero tolerance policy to stop all these shootings, or at least try to curb it a little bit, and nobody wants to do it. They want to praise the people who are bullying the kids.
Well, they're the victims.
Yeah.
Right? The bullies become the victims because... Yeah. And I think one of my favorite recent movies was Wonder. I don't know if you've seen that. What I found interesting about that is the kid has some physical appearance problems because of birth defects and everything, and he gets bullied a lot. Or not even... yeah, he does get bullied. But he has a hard time making friends, right? And the bullies of the movie, they go into their backstories and they show that they have a rough life too, right? Which is true. Everybody has their own story on why they are the way that they are and everything. But at the same time, sometimes you need to teach some kids a lesson. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And when the parents can't teach that lesson, that's what your churches will do. They'll help with teaching those type of lessons. Schools definitely aren't going to do it.
No, they're not. They want to take on responsibilities for everything, except for when you actually get the most important values in life. Then, that's not my responsibility. Yeah, that's left on the parents, yeah. Speaking of parents, a Parents.com article is sure to put smiles on the faces of two particular stepbrothers. The headline reads, Heinz debuts a new condiment called Mayochup and causes an internet freakout. So it says mayonnaise can be a delicious and versatile condiment, as can ketchup. But put them together, maybe with a few other key ingredients, and you've got pretty much every secret sauce, aka Thousand Islands dressing, that was ever smeared on a burger or served alongside some fries. But who wants to mix ketchup and mayo themselves? Heinz must have figured there are people out there who want their go-to condiment hybrid ready to go, because they've released Mayochup, or as I said, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly and Step Brothers would say is called fancy sauce.
You might want to try this. I make a sauce, we call it fancy sauce.
For me.
That Brennan really likes with his chicken nuggets.
It's my fancy sauce.
Well, when Brennan finishes, I'll give you some of this, and it's ketchup and mayonnaise mixed together.
So good.
I want some fancy sauce.
Yeah.
I'm not done using it. Looks good.
Can I have fancy sauce?
Of course. Of course.
I'm using it right now.
Okay. So let's just...
Want to try it, Dale?
Let's just let him try some.
Yeah, I really would like some.
Just one last spoonful.
I think you got enough there, Brennan. So here you go.
Thanks.
It's ketchup and mayonnaise.
Ugh. I don't like it. It smells weird.
I'll try some.
You want some?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
You don't mind, do you, Brennan? Okay.
Brennan.
I'm not comfortable.
That's okay.
Brennan.
No, it's okay. It's probably not good on fish anyway.
I love that movie. I will reference that as many times as I possibly can. So it says that there's one catch. The product is currently only available in the Middle East, but Heinz took to Twitter yesterday back on April 11th to run a poll and test whether or not it would be profitable for them to bring the mashup stateside as well. So you can go to Heinz on Twitter and actually vote on that if you're interested in getting a Mayochup mashup, which
or you can make it your own home.
Personally, it should be called fancy sauce, I believe. Yeah, absolutely. So as reported by the BBC News, the first person on Mars should be a woman.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Says a senior NASA engineer. And just for this, I wore my NASA shirt tonight. A senior NASA engineer has said that the first person to step foot on Mars should be a woman, Alison McIntyre, who puts prospective space travelers through their paces at Johnson Space Center in Houston, noted that all 12 people who have walked on the moon were men. She believes women should be at the forefront of it, and when the agency sends its first human missions to Mars. She says it's more than half a century since Russia sent the first woman into space and 40 years since NASA selected its first female astronaut. But there still hasn't been a woman on the moon, and women remain underrepresented in science and engineering industries on both sides of the Atlantic. That's really weird. We haven't seen a woman on the moon yet. But then again, we haven't been back to the moon for freaking decades now. I mean, it's so ridiculous to even make that comparison. Says that she's been with NASA for nearly 30 years and has seen huge changes in that time. My center director is a woman. My former division chief is a woman. We have female astronauts, but we haven't put a woman on the moon yet. And I think the first person on Mars should be a woman. So let me get this straight. They have a center director that's a woman. They have a former division chief that's a woman, and they have female astronauts. Does it sound like NASA's being sexist at all?
Yeah. I would have to say that they are being quite sexist towards the men.
They're crazy. Sexist towards the men, yeah, exactly. No, I just think it's ridiculous. They're trying to make a big deal of it, but at the same time saying that there's a lot of women in all different positions all over the company. NASA astronaut Karen Nyberg has already spent more than 6 months in space aboard the ISS. She said, when I was selected as an astronaut in 2000, I thought that might be a realistic possibility that we would be next to go to the moon, so it's unfortunate we weren't. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but Obama had a real grudge against NASA, I think, because he cut a lot of funding to NASA and wanted to take away from space exploration. He didn't feel like that was a front that we should be going toward. Trump, on the other hand, has said that he wants us to go back to the moon. So, right now, these people on NASA should actually be pretty excited that we may actually go back to the moon at some point. You want to go to the moon?
I have my different theories about the moon.
What's that?
Go there,
oh, no. Are you pulling an Alex Jones on me?
No, I'm not. I just look at the photos myself, and I listen to my dad because he witnessed the landing stuff.
You don't think we went?
I don't see how a flag in the atmosphere, like they're on the moon's atmosphere, is gonna wave like the wind's blowing. I don't understand how the light was there when we landed on the dark side of the moon. I don't understand. I have my own opinions on that part, but that's just my opinion. So we can move on.
Yeah, maybe that's a special episode podcast at some point for me to just sit here and drool as I listen to like conspiracy theories.
Yeah, you can do that.
So speaking of women, according to The Blaze, this is one of the craziest stories I have heard lately. A woman called cops on a man playing with his kids at the park because she was afraid of his pro-gun t-shirt.
He's going to jump off his shirt and shoot somebody.
Yeah, it might. It's responsible for everything around that playground going wrong. A Texas woman called the police. A Texas woman. They're infiltrating Texas, these crazy people. Keep out of Texas, all right? A Texas woman called the police on a man wearing an offensive and concerning t-shirt while playing with his children at a local playground. The shirt in question is a cop-designed pro-Second Amendment t-shirt that features an AR-style weapon, graphic, and text that reads, "I'll control my guns, you control your kids," which is great. Yeah. By the way, if it's cop-designed, geez, isn't it also racist then, too, beyond being something to do with guns and dangerous? Right? Cops are racist.
I think all of them are. Every last one, down to the...
Well, if one does something wrong, they all got to pay for it, right? Yeah. Theory of my friend, right? They're all responsible. So they're all racist. A description of the t-shirt can be seen on Warrior 12's webpage, which states, "Gun control is a touchy subject in today's day and age. The issue isn't guns, it's people. If parents could just learn to control their kids and take responsibility, we wouldn't have all the issues we do today. Instead, it is much easier to point the finger at proud gun-owning Americans and attack our Second Amendment rights."
Here's a part of it, too. The punishment of the kids. We need to start spanking our kids more. That's what we need to do, period. All this will stop if we start spanking a little bit more. The switch, we need to bring the switch back.
Switch back. Not broke back.
No, not broke back.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. On Saturday, Blue Lives Matter reported that the man's shirt was not only upsetting the woman, but reportedly others in the vicinity as well. Troy Johnston was visiting a Benbrook, Texas playground with his two daughters to play in late March. Johnston, who was legally and openly carrying his firearm on a hip holster, wore the above t-shirt to the father-daughter outing. This guy was asking for it.
He wore it above his hip. Man, jump off that hip.
No, on a hip holster. And wore the above shirt mentioned.
Yeah, but he was wearing it on a hip holster. Everybody can see it. That's
Yep. It's out there.
The problem,
Yep.
Everybody's scared.
A short while after Johnston and his daughters arrived, a man, along with his family, reportedly approached Johnston about his T-shirt. The man reportedly told Johnston that between his open carry and his T-shirt, a nearby woman was fuming. I thanked him for letting me know and continued playing with my kids, Johnston said, and he noted that shortly after, another family approached him. This time, a second family wanted to read Johnston's shirt, which was apparently creating waves in the park by this point. The man from the second family reportedly told Johnston that the woman was contacting law enforcement over his shirt, adding that he personally felt more secure knowing there was someone in the park that would protect them. Blue Lives Matter reported that Benbrook Police Department Corporal Jay Reese said the woman did indeed call police on Johnston and described him as a suspicious person who had a gun holstered to his chest and wearing the offensive T-shirt. When Reese arrived at the park, he spoke with the woman who said that Johnston was making other parents on the playground very uncomfortable with his T-shirt. This is the point that we're getting to right now. T-shirts are making people really upset.
Somewhere in there I heard you say Blue Lives Matter.
That's the website that was reporting on this. Yeah.
What blows me away is a lot of these hashtag this, hashtag that, and they're all basically left-leaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about kids' lives? What about baby lives? Do they not matter?
3,000 a day.
Yeah, they're sitting there, they're beating in the stomach, but yet it's okay to take that life.
Yep.
I don't get it.
No.
I'm foggy. I'm in a circle here about
more and more every day.
Matter,
Yeah.
But a child's life doesn't matter.
Yep. It says when Reese arrived at the park, he spoke with the woman who said that Johnston was making parents on the playground very uncomfortable with this T-shirt. It says the subject did not act threatening to anyone, nor did he threaten anyone, Reese noted, and later described Johnston as, get ready for this, cover your kids' ears, polite. Yeah. She was not scared of the gun, Reese added. She was concerned about his T-shirt. According to Johnston, who voluntarily identified himself to Reese, he offered to show his gun permit to the police. They didn't ask Johnston, told Blue Lives Matter. I think that's responsible, honestly, though, when you get pulled over if you're carrying.
Well, yeah, look what happens if you don't tell them what.
Oh, yeah.
You get shot, and then all of a sudden Black Lives Matter.
The unnamed officer who owns Warrior 12 clothing said that he has been flooded with hate messages as a result of this shirt. He said, I've been having people accuse me of being responsible for the school shootings, of having blood on my hands. They are conflating a shirt about constitutional rights and personal responsibility with horrific acts of mass murder. Guns don't cause violence. If we can examine and work on the actual root causes of violence, then that's when we'll see a reduction in violent acts. It's like, what's it called? Common sense. That's severely lacking, along with personal responsibility in our culture today. It's a little cold out here, isn't it?
I'm not shivering.
Maybe we moved back into the studio a little too soon. It was snowing today in Pennsylvania.
Yes, it was.
I don't know. It's April 19th as we're recording this right now, and we had snow piling up on roofs up in Wilkes-Barre where I've been working. I mean, it's just been insanity.
I've never been so cold. Never. I can feel ice forming in my lungs.
According to Reuters, the first lawsuit has been filed by a victim of the Parkland shootings. The parents of a 17-year-old student who was shot 5 times as he shielded others during the Parkland, Florida high school mass shooting on Tuesday filed the first lawsuit on behalf of a victim in the massacre that killed 17 people and wounded 17 others. The suit seeks a jury trial and an unspecified amount of damages from 7 defendants, including the accused killer in the February 14th shooting rampage at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Other defendants are the estate of the shooter's late mother, a Parkland couple who housed him in the time immediately before the massacre, and 3 mental health centers that evaluated and treated him. Notice I said shooters and him the whole time because I refuse to mention the guy's name. I refuse to give credit to these people anymore who are seeking fame, you know? The suit filed in Broward County Circuit Court charges him with assault and battery and the other 6 defendants with negligence. Broward is the county where the shootings occurred. The plaintiffs are the parents of Anthony Borges, who was hospitalized for more than a month after being shot 3 times in his legs and twice in his torso, the suit says. It also says that Borges is confined to a wheelchair for the foreseeable future and requires constant care. So our prayers definitely go out to that kid. So my question is, why hasn't Broward County Sheriff's Department been named in this negligence suit as well?
Well, they should be, because they were called how many times to the boy's house?
They were outside the school while it was happening and refused to go in. Meanwhile, you have 17-year-old kids holding the door open while getting shot multiple times to help save people. Sheriff Israel is a coward and disgrace to the uniform, and that's an elected position. I really hope that Parkland votes that guy out of there, because I have seen evidence after evidence being piled up that this guy has only run and gotten elected as sheriff to further a political career as probably someone in Congress at some point. This guy should be nowhere near any type of policies ever.
He'll be the first one there knocking on the door of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. While we're on the topic of the Parkland shooting, The Blaze is reporting that a pro-gun Trump supporter's shocking David Hogg video earned him a Twitter ban. I find this article interesting, and I wanted to put this on here because I believe that you also need to call out your own side. We were talking earlier about the hypocrisy, right, of some of the media people like Hannity defending Trump all the time, even though, you know, being his lapdog basically, whereas the rest of the media was Obama's lapdog, and he called them out, but he doesn't see that. He said he's not doing that all the time. I don't know. I personally haven't seen it, but I do believe that it's important for us to call out our own side, right? When they do something wrong, that's really messing up the whole message.
From what I can remember with Hannity going into the elections with Trump, at first it was hard for him to even put his name behind him. From what I can remember.
No.
Or did he have his name behind him the whole time?
Yeah, the whole time.
Okay.
They're pretty good friends.
See, I didn't. I thought that he was kind of.
Plus, apparently, they share the same lawyer. Cohen, yeah. So, a California man has been banned from Twitter after creating a video of himself shooting an effigy of Parkland student David Hogg for target practice. The man, identified by Newsweek as Frank Espinoza, is that how to say it? Espinoza, right here?
Deport him.
Can be seen at what appears to be a shooting range wearing a black Make America Great Again hat and clad in black clothing. I got a message for David Hogg at CNN. You want to push society to civil war? You want to make us all fight? You want to see what a civil war looks like? I'm going to show you what a civil war looks like, David. Espinoza shared the video to Twitter on Wednesday, which marked Hogg's 18th birthday. Twitter removed the video shortly after it was posted and banned Espinoza's account. So let's take a look at what that video actually looked like.
I got a message for David Hogg, the at CNN. You want to push society towards a civil war? You want to make us all fight? You want to see what a civil war looks like? I'm going to show you what a civil war is going to look like.
Not good.
Yeah, he took that a little far.
Yeah, a little far is right. Yeah. In an interview, he received a ban from YouTube as a result of previous inflammatory behaviors on the platform. In an interview with Newsweek, Espinoza said that by crafting the video, he was merely making a statement about small content creators being banned from YouTube, and noted that he believed Hogg was intimidating those on the right with his gun control promoting tactics. Here it goes. I'm a performance artist, Espinoza said. I wanted to see the trajectory of where this internet censorship was going. Boy, who else talks about being a performance artist when it fits the agenda of defending himself?
Sounds like Jimmy Kimmel.
No, I was actually thinking of Alex Jones.
Really?
Right? I mean, he comes up with all these conspiracy things, especially Pizzagate. Do you know what Pizzagate is?
No, I stopped watching Alex Jones about about 2012 or 13.
So Pizzagate during the election was he was saying on his program, first of all, he said that Sandy Hook was fabricated and it was all crisis actors, right? So you have a suit being filed against him right now by the parents of those kids that died because they're getting harassed by people that say that their kids never existed.
Well, that's legitimate.
Or died. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Defamation or whatnot.
Yeah, they should sue the hell out of Alex Jones. He, in regards to Pizzagate, when Hillary was running, they said that there was a pizza shop, Cosmo Pizza, I believe was the name of it, that had a basement that led to an underground tunnel system where they prostituted children. Right? There was a guy that went in there and shot around in the air or something like that, looking to save these kids. The place didn't even have a basement, right? So his words and his actions have led to people getting out of control that actually believe the nonsense that comes out of his crap. And when he was confronted about that, he said, I'm just a performance artist. Like, you can't blame me for this kind of stuff. I'm just a performance artist. When you put yourself out there as a media representative, personality and radio host that reports on the news and everything, you have a large internet news website, InfoWars, which I refuse to go on ever and give them attention. And he reports himself as when he gets in trouble, I'm a performance artist. Falls back on that.
Here's how I feel about it. The guy's putting out news for a group of people who are looking for something else besides CNN or the left agenda, or even, let's say, the right agenda. And they think they find it in Alex Jones when the guy is just a quack. He does it for the money. Look at what happened with his wife when they got divorced. He came out and said, I am just an actor.
Yep.
Just an actor. Okay, well then you're just an actor, but what he's doing is causing people who are not as strong-minded as others to go out and do crazy shit. Excuse my language.
So here's the thing, though, in regards to that is... you will literally have people that will say, well, he's just saying he's an actor. We know really what's going on. You know, like there's just so much craziness that circles these people. So this Espinoza guy, like, we have to say this. We have to say this if we're being honest. It's wrong. You know, what he did was flat out wrong and disgusting by shooting that target. You know?
I mean, just the kid doesn't know what he's out there really saying.
I think he does, but I think he's being pimped by the media.
He's being pimped by the media, yes, and he doesn't understand how much would change if he got this ban on guns that he wants. Because you lose your guns, you lose your First Amendment.
Yeah.
You have no voice then. You lose that, then you lose your third,
everything.
Your fourth, your fifth, your sixth, all the way down the
exactly.
line. And then next thing you know, you don't have your kids anymore because you put a podcast out that's got conservative ties or religious. You know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I do. No, I totally do.
If you want to keep your kids and everything, you might want to keep your guns.
Yep. In regards to this guy, we have to approach this topic, the Second Amendment, and this is going to be one of the main things I say in my speech. At the Second Amendment rally, we have to approach this not out of anger or fear of what's going on, but stacked with facts, statistics, and ultimately the Constitution behind us, which is a guaranteed right from not directly from, but against the government. The government is not allowed to take that right from you, right? It's a
they're not supposed to infringe on any of it
exactly.
at all. That's why it says not to be infringed upon. And that means taking us from 20 or 30 round clips down to 10 because you think it's going to save more lives. It's what's going to save more lives is, one, stop putting people on medication that is making them want to be, one, suicidal and then go crazy after taking it for so long and then they go out and shoot people.
Yeah.
Brains are a fragile thing, and if you do something to the brain that's going to cause you to go crazy later, that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to go crazy.
So I think we need to approach this topic in a very sensitive way and be level-headed about it. You know, that I think they are looking for us to be like this guy, to do insane things like this and show that we're crazy people and we shouldn't even have guns, because what he really wants to do is shoot David Hogg, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're going to say. I would hope that he doesn't want to. I'm hoping that it's just a cardboard cutout and he just wants to take out his aggression.
The way it sounds, he wanted to take out just about anybody who's got a different view than him.
Right. And that is the way. Yeah. You know what?
Civil War looks a little bit worse than that. I'm sorry, it was just a cardboard box, but still, Civil War is not going to be anything pretty. Look at the numbers. Look at the statistics of our last Civil War. It's not pretty. Brothers killing brothers, sisters killing moms. It's not a pretty thing. And we have to figure out how to get back on the same page again. Yeah. As a country, and we're not going to do it behind liberals.
We have to do a better job of getting our message across.
We need to rehaul the whole system as a whole, not just parts of it. We need to rehaul everything. Everything needs to be stripped down and taken back to the way it was before even me and you were born.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's got to be taken back a long ways, and there's only a couple ways to do that. And one less Hillary Clinton is not going to hurt the possibility of it happening. Yeah. It's not. So
unfortunately, this deals with my home state here. Pennsylvania school districts are arming their teachers in case of an active shooter situation. In the wake of the school shooting in Parkland, Florida, a school district in suburb of northwest Philadelphia city of Erie is arming its 500 teachers with baseball bats, reports CBS Erie affiliate WSEE TV. It is the last resort, said Mill Creek School Superintendent William Hall, but it is an option and something we want people to be aware of. According to Hall, the 16-inch bats were distributed to each teacher following an in-service training day on how to respond to school shootings. We passed them out, with the goal being we wanted every room to have one of these, said Hall. Unfortunately, we're in a day and age where one might need to use them to protect ourselves and our kids. You're talking about a bat this long.
A bat this long.
That long, right?
And what are you going to do? Is usually about, just the barrel can be about this long, and then the rest of it, you're looking about that long, okay?
Yeah. What are you going to do, deflect bullets?
Sorry, I think I'd rather Chuck Norris in my classroom.
Yeah, no kidding. Hall says that the bats are primarily symbolic. I have a bat. Can you stop shooting? Right?
It's bulletproof.
Yeah, but are now an option for teachers to use should they need to fight back in a school shooting. At the Blue Mountain School District in Schuylkill County, they have armed their classrooms with buckets of rocks.
PA just made California look a little better.
Yeah, no kidding.
Gosh.
At one time, I just had the idea of Riverstone. They're the right size for hands. You can throw them very hard, and they will create or cause pain, which can distract, Hessel told CNN affiliate WNEP. But they only see it as a last resort.
No.
It better be a damn first resort. I'm telling you that right now. Because you're not going to get another resort after that.
Does it come with a sling? No.
Oh my gosh. We've learned many things from these tragedies over the years. Now, you haven't learned enough if you're trying to arm with rocks. One of them is that evacuating makes students the safest. I'm going to say it makes them an easier target. They're actually flowing out into the people trying to do this. And if students can't leave the building, they'll have their stones. Kind of wish that this superintendent actually had some stones to get guns into the school.
Let's look at it this way. What happens when one of these students gets their hand on the bat and then goes on a bludgeoning spree?
Then it becomes an assault bat.
Yeah, and the rocks become the deadly weapon?
Yeah, they're assault rocks. According to, are you familiar with this? sfgate.com?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with
So, what is a San Francisco Gate?
Yeah, it's a San Francisco Gate.
Okay, so according to San Francisco Gate, the plan to split California into 3 states may qualify for the ballot. Californians may get to vote on a plan to split the state into 3 smaller states this November. Venture capitalist Tim Draper, who previously pushed a proposal that would split California into 6 states, says that his 3-state proposal has enough signatures to qualify for the November ballot. On Thursday, Draper said in a statement that the Cal 3 initiative has collected over 600,000 signatures from Californians who would like to see the state split into 3. An initiative needs 366,000 signatures to appear on the ballot. He said, this is an unprecedented show of support on behalf of every corner of California to create 3 state governments that emphasize representation, responsiveness, reliability, and regional identity. If voters pass it, Cal 3 would begin the process to divide California into Northern California, Southern California, and just plain California.
State of Jefferson.
Name submissions for wildfires, mudslides, and earthquake zone were turned down. Other considerations included sanctuary zone, wine country, and cartel war zone. Those are my.
I can see that.
That's
Don't
why
forget
I put
about
in
the
there.
poop war zone.
Poop,
you know, of San
yeah,
Francisco.
Poop Central.
Yeah.
Northern California would include all of the counties north of Merced County, and California would consist of Los Angeles, Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, yeah, Monterey, and San Benito counties. The remaining counties would be part of Southern California. Even if the proposal passes in November, splitting the state would require congressional approval. Cal 3's website estimates that Northern California would have a population of 13.3 million, California would have a population of 12.3 million, and Southern California would have a population of 13.9 million. So pretty close in numbers, though. The reasoning...
One-sided, very one-sided.
Well, and we're going to talk about that. I want your opinion on it. The reasoning behind the proposal is that California has gotten too big to be governed effectively. That's true, right? That, and probably the fact that everyone outside the cities is sick of being represented by a bunch of liberal elitists that screw their constituents over with liberal policies, higher taxes, and sanctuary policies that are destroying the entire state.
So instead, let's put more liberals in charge of more states of California so they can screw them up even more. If you can't keep one state under control with the liberal policies, how in the hell do you expect to keep 3 of them going?
Is Los Angeles considered Northern California?
No, it's Southern. Anything south of like Fresno usually is considered... well, they actually consider Northern California being north of Bakersfield. Anything over the Grapevine is north. When you look at the way that they want to split this state up, it is way one-sided liberal to the fullest. Every state's going to be either light blue to dark blue.
Yeah.
To the fullest. When they drew out the map, they have San Francisco, Sacramento, 2 of the major cities there, San Jose, those very liberal cities are going to be part of Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
Southern California is going to be split right at Fresno, from what I can tell, down to the south. And then the California is going to be on the coastline.
Yep.
Okay, you have all the major cities that are majorly liberal in each of them.
Yeah.
How are you going to ever have a chance for a Republican to be appointed to a seat? You're not.
And it really seems like besides the cities, a lot of it is red areas in California.
A lot of the areas, especially Eastern California.
Yeah.
And once you get higher north. But when you put San Francisco in there, it easily takes away those seats very fast.
Yeah.
Because it's so big. The San Francisco Bay Area is so large and so many liberals are there. It's just going to... Northern California won't have a shot. Southern California is not going to have a shot.
So one thing that you pointed out to me before the podcast was the fact that we would be adding more congressional seats, and if that's the case, then it leans blue. Yeah, you're just trying to overpower congressional. It's at this point then it's not about underrepresentation; it's about overrepresentation in your favor when it comes to Congress. Then.
Yeah, and I was trying to look a little bit deeper into it too, but the banking system would. The Bank of America especially would get a major bump. Mm. So monetarily wise, they want it to happen because Bank of America would become one of the largest in the world then. Mm. So I had to look more into it for that. But they can't keep one state under control. How are they going to do 3?
No, I don't think they would be able to.
No, they're not. For one, I mean, they can't even control the immigration problem, which is a major problem. And they can't control the homeless problem. To combat the homeless problem, first you got to tell the immigrants to stay out. You have to. You got to tell the homeless people, get to the farms. Americans, you are too lazy. You can get out and work in the farms. We're not better than that. We are people. We have to eat. We can work in the farms just as a Mexican can, or a black person can, or a Chinese person. We can work the farms. You just have to want to. You have to want money. You can't be like this forever.
No.
You keep doing this,
so
you're never going to gain anything.
You saw the video that I put out there about San Francisco and the liberal exodus, right? Was there anything in there that you disagree with?
With the liberal exodus?
Yeah, that people are leaving San Francisco because of liberal policies.
Oh yeah, they're definitely leaving because of liberal policies. Liberal policies are allowing people to sit on the streets doing drugs. they're not trying to do anything with them. They say they want to open up these safe houses for them. Why? So they can just be saved then and then kick back out on the streets just to keep doing it? How about we help them? How about we do something to combat this drug problem, this homeless problem?
What have you witnessed out there in San Francisco and stuff?
Well, let's put it this way. I stayed at the Union Square in San Francisco just about a month ago with my family. We stayed at the Holiday Inn right in the middle of the town there. And as soon as we walk out, we make a right, drug use. We witnessed 3 people overdose on heroin with needles still in their arms.
And your kids saw it too.
Yeah, oh yeah, my kids seen it, my wife seen it. You know, you shield the eyes, but at the same time, you kind of want the kids to see it in a way because it opens their eyes to what happens when you become a drug addict. That's what can happen. You hit rock bottom. That's where you're gonna end up. You're gonna end up on the streets. Nobody's gonna care because you don't care.
Yeah.
The feces in San Francisco is horrendous. You can't walk 25 minutes without smelling feces, at least on every block that you come across. It's that bad.
And urine too?
Urine, poop. The poop is getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
You know.
What's the mentality of people out there like?
Everybody just
I think one
nobody
thing
wants to talk to anybody. You can't just walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Because they're gonna be like, they're afraid of you.
Yeah.
They have everybody afraid of each other. You know, you're afraid of your own shadow out there.
You were kind of shocked. It seems like you were kind of shocked coming out of here. One thing that you mentioned was how friendly everybody is.
It's a lot friendlier.
I told you not to go north of here anymore.
Yeah, stay away from New York. I got away from California for a reason, not to go to New York. But I do want to drive through there so I can flip off some liberals, but that's just me, you know. But it's a much different world out here. People care about each other as far as I can see. I haven't ran into but maybe one rude person that we've seen, and it was probably because of the person I was driving with on why that guy was rude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a lot different here. It feels good to actually be able to, one, see my money, keep my money, instead of seeing every dollar going out and not knowing where that dollar's going. Well, all you have to do is look at the train that's not even being built correctly to see where the money's going.
One criticism I got on the San Francisco video from multiple people out in California is that it's not liberal policies that are driving people out. It's the high taxes and high property values.
High taxes are really, really high, and the property tax is high too. But the thing about it is we get double taxed out there, especially in a fire zone. And from what I can understand, I think there is a civil suit going on right now against some of the governments because they're double charging on taxes. If you have a detached garage or an extra roof, you have to pay an extra $150 a month on that roof.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's part of the property tax.
Yeah,
that's why we pay taxes, to keep the firefighters fighting the fires, not starting them.
Another time.
But we have.
Do you think that you can separate high property prices and taxes from liberal policies? Or do you think it's liberal policies that are causing those?
The liberal policies are causing them because they want the rich people to live there and they want the poor people out. Let's put
do you see that? Do you see them pushing out the homeless population?
Oh yeah, no, they round up the people when the problem gets bad enough in San Francisco. They round them up, they bring them across the bay, they drop them off in Oakland. Okay, when Oakland gets tired of them, they round them up, they take them over to Livermore or Tracy, they dump them, and then it just keeps coming. So now where I'm at is in Modesto. I've seen in the past 10 years a hike in homeless. Big time. They're sleeping at the churches. They're staying in tent cities in like Stockton, huge tent cities where you have hundreds and hundreds of tents. And you drive by them, you can literally smell the feces down there.
Yeah.
They just live amongst it. You know, these people need to start wanting to care about their lives. They're going to want to have to start working. And the only way that's going to happen is, one, keep the illegal immigrants away so these people can get back to work. And if they don't want to work, don't keep giving them money. Don't keep giving them money, because all they're going to do is go buy drugs with the money. They're not going to buy food. They're not going to better help themselves. They're going to make it worse. And it's just going to be a waterfall of just failure.
What are some of the biggest? One thing I found really interesting that you talked about was the water issue and droughts.
If we break up that's the one thing I started thinking. Okay, if we break up into 3 states, we can keep our water. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a liberal-run state, so the water's still going to leave. What happens is you get a lot of rain there. They fill up the reservoirs. They let all the water out, saying that the snow. We got to account for the snow melt. Okay, well, don't drop it below halfway to account for the snow melt. Wait till the water's up high. Let the water out slowly. Shut it down when the snow melt's done. You have your full water. No, they want to empty them all the way out because of salmon. It's not because of the salmon. Okay, there may be stupid people in California, but I'm not one of them. It's not for the salmon. The salmon are going to run either way.
Yeah.
So they have the whole Bay Area. They have the whole Delta system. The salmon will run. Believe me.
Yeah. So why are they doing it then? Why are they emptying out?
To keep the water prices high, I believe, because over the past 10 years, my water went from $45 lineal foot, I think is how it's measured, but now it's like my water bill has been over $120 a month. That's almost 100% jump just in water bills. So I think it's to keep prices of water high, to start a water war. I don't know if you've heard that term before, water wars. There's water wars going on up there in California.
And it's because so when we see over here in the news that there's droughts in California, those are created problems.
I believe that they are a created problem. Why let out so much water? I see every day, I go across these bridges, these dams every day, and I see water levels drop every day. I'm sorry, water doesn't evaporate that fast.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. They're letting it out, and they just let it out as much as possible. So it creates a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't build these dams to let all the water out. We need more dams, especially if we want to keep feeding the people who live in the desert who shouldn't even be down there.
Yeah.
You know, if water's not there now, why water being sent there by pipelines? I mean, sorry, Moonlight Brown, you're not that smart. Did you hear about his idea of what he was going to do at the beginning of the drought when it started getting real bad?
No.
He wanted to take trucks, okay, water trucks, and he wanted to go to L.A. to get the water back that it was in L.A. and bring it back up to Northern California where the freaking drought was really bad. It was that bad. I couldn't believe it. I think I heard on Rush. It was just, I thought, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Drive water back up to where it was to begin with. Makes no sense.
Any other? I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about any other things out of California that you think people should know about that isn't talked about.
Our school systems are broken.
I think that's everywhere, though. I think that's a national school system.
It's really bad there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, they have it so out of whack with the school systems to where the parents can't even sit down with their kids to do homework now. Now the parents are teaching themselves how to do their kids' homework, and by the time we finally teach them how to do it, we just did it for them.
I think that's the same way everywhere, to be honest with you. It's what we deal with here.
I mean, and then the superintendents, the school districts themselves, and the bullying in California, it seems to get worse and worse all the time. It's amazing that we haven't had more shootings out there than what the rest of the nation seems to have a mouse.
Oh yeah, he's my buddy in here.
Yeah.
Anything else about California at all? You're just happy
I'm happy to be out there, and I know that the people who've been leaving behind me too, and the ones who will be leaving in the future, they're gonna like it a lot better.
You know what scares me though is that they're gonna bring their liberal policies with them, I think, and infect other red states that they move to.
Baseball bats in your schools.
Yeah, unfortunately, we got these little 16-inch.
About that, but what's going to ruin our policies through the rest of America is the illegal immigration. The immigrants are going to come here, and of course, they're going to vote for the people who want them here, which are going to be the Democrats, because they just want to enslave the Mexicans. That's what it boils down to, I believe. Who else is? Obviously, nobody else wants to work the fields. Obviously, for some reason in California, nobody wants to work in the hotels. That's where you'll find them. That's where you find a lot of the illegal immigrants, our fields and our hotels.
Yeah.
That's where 90% of them are at.
Where they're basically threatened by the business owners to work for little pay, or else they would be ratted out and deported,
ICE
right?
will come and get them.
So it's a slave situation.
Yeah,
it's modern-day slavery.
Yeah, it is modern-day slavery, and it's happened to Mexicans all the time, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
You know, they're able to take these measly checks that they get in and live off of them, because what happens is their wives go on food stamps, or some other sort of assistance so they can be paid nothing and then get the money from the government, of course they're going to vote for that government.
Yeah.
They're giving them a handout. It's just, the policies in California are broken. And Jerry Brown will never fix them. He's going to make them worse. Nancy Pelosi should just dig. It's
Grim
about
Reaper?
time. Yeah, she is just
But I heard
out of control.
you like Maxine Waters, so.
Oh, jeez. Gosh. I thought we weren't going to mention that name.
Reclaiming my time.
Yeah.
Reclaiming my time.
But I'm glad to be out of there. I can't wait to get my family out of there. You know, get my 4 kids and my wife out here and, you know, start a life fresh and not have to worry about stupid things like you have to worry about in California.
Well, you're the type of person that we actually want out here instead of the other ones. So I appreciate you coming out here. I appreciate you being on the podcast and everything. And yeah, I think you're going to have a better life out here.
Yeah,
so
I think so too. I'm already a lot happier. So, you know, like I was telling you the other day, I don't think I've been smiling this much in ever.
Yeah.
California's just not happy. You can't find a happiness somewhere where you make bottom dollar and you got to be forced to pay, you know, $3.60 a gallon of gas, and you go buy a steak and the steak's like $20 for 3 pounds or something. It's just ridiculous. So.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you being on the podcast and everything. That is it for our topics tonight. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you are interested, again, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Go there and subscribe or like and get interactive with everything. So have a great night, and God bless America.